Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake, coming to you with the first video I've had in a long time. So, what is this about? Well, like I said, it's been a long time. Haven't given you any updates throughout the season. We're a little past the end of the first quarter, and I'm due to tell you where things are at for the team. We'll start off with everybody else in the team, and then eventually we'll circle around and come back to me. Alright, so starting off with Nate. As you may remember, and if you don't remember, you can go watch the previous video because I'm pretty sure that talks about it. He won a cup at the beginning of the season with an Arceus Duraludon deck. After that, he did not place in any additional cups this quarter. He played in several, just couldn't quite finish out on any of them, got really close several times, but he just didn't quite get there. He did, however, end the season with a total of 90 points, which is pretty healthy for the quarter. He won a challenge with a Mew VMAX deck. He won another challenge with, I think, Gardevoir, but it might have been Lost Zone Giratina. And then he also got top 4 in a challenge with the other of those. So I think it was top 4 with Gardevoir and 1 with Giratina, but I could be wrong. And that's basically where things fell. We have 2 members from the team that are basically not active anymore. One because things just went kind of crazy with his family, and he just had to bow out of competitive play for the year. And the other just decided to take the season off because he has to focus his time and his money in doing things for his daughter. So props to Brent for focusing on his daughter and his family. And other than that, we're left with me. The team's kind of dissolved, not really a team anymore, but I'll continue to update things here as they relate to me, probably once a quarter. So what does my quarter look like? Well, I had the top 4 from the first cup that I got with Rapid Strike. And then at the very end of the season, I went back to Rapid Strike just because it's what I enjoyed playing the most throughout the quarter. I keep saying season, and I mean quarter basically every time. But so at the end of the quarter, I went back. I played the last 2 cups of the quarter with Rapid Strike, and I topped both of them, top 8, so 25 points. But that means I earned a total of 92 points with Rapid Strike. So I have the 50 points from the 2 top 8s, the 32 points from the top 4, and then there was a challenge that I got top 4 with as well, with Rapid Strike. Other than that, I ended up with 158 points total. So what else contributed? I got 2nd place in a challenge with Tinkaton EX. It's a really fun deck, and it's actually pretty strong too. So I'd actually recommend it, and I'll do a video kind of going over the list that I used and things I would and wouldn't change. It's pretty much set for the current format, and I don't know that it would be worth playing into the next format. The other deck I mentioned with Nate, I played it more than Nate did, is Lost Zone Giratina. So I got a total of 62 points with Giratina, all of that in challenges, because I never made cut in a cup with it. So I ended up winning 2 challenges with it, getting 2 second places with it, and getting a top 8 of a challenge with it. Which the top 8 went away, and that's why if you add up all the points that I have said, it doesn't add up to 158, it adds up a little more than that, but we have a best finish limit of 6, so any challenges where I'm not first or second are just kind of going away now. So the one thing I want to address is why I didn't do better with Lost Zone Giratina. And I think the biggest problem is that I kept making changes that didn't contribute to the deck performing at its best. I had a very refined list that I was very happy with, and it worked very smoothly at the beginning of the quarter. And then Worlds happened, and I tried to adjust the list to accommodate things that came out of Worlds, specifically adding in Snorlax and a couple other techs at the cost of reducing my energy counts, and I think that caused me some problems. Now, I still would have actually made it a top cut with Lost Zone Giratina if I hadn't, well, sort of crapped out on sleep and made some major misplays at the first cup that I played it in. Basically, it came down to 2 separate matches where I bossed and attacked the wrong Pokemon using the wrong attacker. So in both cases, I could have just attacked a more meaningful target with Snorlax. So I'm saying Snorlax caused problems, and here I'm saying if I had used Snorlax, I would have won. But that's how the deck was built, was to use Snorlax. And in the specific matchups that I was against, losing a two-prizer when my opponent got where they needed was a bigger deal than taking two prizes would have been. If I could have done everything with a one prizer, it would have worked out much better for me. In one case, it was against a Gardevoir deck that I had locked down with Path for quite a while, and he got out of it, and because I had attacked with the Giratina, he was able to get two prizes and pull ahead. And otherwise, I would have won if I had just given up one prize. But I didn't, and I lost that winning into the top 4 or top 8. And then the second was kind of the same thing, but against Chen Pao, where I bossed up and KO'd a Chen Pao with Giratina, and I should have actually bossed up and KO'd his only Babarrel, because he had like no cards left in his hand. He wouldn't have been able to then draw cards, wouldn't have been able to keep developing, and it would have been easy to win from there. But instead, I KO'd the Chen Pao, and what are Chen Pao's decks built to do? To recycle the Chen Pao. So that didn't benefit me in any way, and I ended up losing from there. The key point that I'll say is, if you have attackers that aren't going to Lost Zone energy, you should prioritize them when playing Lost Zone Giratina. I know a lot of versions of the deck don't really have those attackers, or at least not many of them, but I had them. I had those attacks available, and I didn't prioritize them, so I ended up giving up too many prizes, knocking out the wrong targets, and it cost me. But like I said, I ended up with 158 points out of 600. That's pretty good for the first quarter. It's almost exactly where one would need to be looking ahead at where we want to finish. But I'm actually going to slow down on the competitive play. Not necessarily done completely, but I traveled to a whole bunch of cups last quarter, and I'm not going to continue doing that just because I have stuff going on in my career that are going to make that problematic. And I also want to focus on a couple of things. One is exercising more, eating better, and just kind of fixing some of what I've got going on here. And the other is that I want to build up this channel, and I have a bunch of ideas for things I want to do, and I'd rather focus on this than on earning points to try to go to Hawaii, because I don't know that even if I earned everything and made it to Hawaii, that I'd actually go, based purely on cost versus where things are at in my career. Now maybe if things explode here and my health gets a lot better, then we can change that. I'm still going to play in locals, and at the current time, I'm probably still planning on going to San Antonio regionals as long as I'm comfortable with the deck. But that's the other thing, that's the mistake I made at Peoria, is that I took a deck that I'd only been playing for a week. It was a really good play for the event. It was a Lost Zone Charizard deck. And there's not much in the meta that makes it a bad pick. But I didn't do well with it because I made a key change like on Saturday, or well, Friday, and I hadn't tested it at all, really. It just seemed really good in concept, and ended up biting me in the butt that I put a Mew EX into the deck. It helped me one game, and then I got to draw, and it sort of was of even value in another game, but it definitely cost me a couple of rounds that I would have otherwise won. So helping me in a single game here and there, but costing me 2 rounds, not a good enough trade-off in my mind. I mean, I think I'd have known that if I had gotten more testing in with the deck, specifically with the matchups that caused me trouble, which were Turbo Lost Box both times. Every other matchup that I played out felt really good, and the deck was pretty resilient. I ended up bricking horribly in both games of my round 1 match against Miraidon, which is otherwise a pretty easy win. So that kind of sucked. Like I said, I lost 2 other rounds to Turbo Lost Box. And even in those rounds, I think I made some misplays that if I'd done it all right, it would have worked out much better for me. And then my final loss was, again, a just boneheaded play of losing the mirror, not the exact mirror, but losing to another Charizard deck because I didn't prize check and didn't realize that my Psychic energies, one of them was prized. So I lost zone to Psychic, which then meant that I couldn't Sableye for the whole game. And attacking with Sableye literally is what wins you that matchup. I also ended up attacking, here we go, back to the Snorlax situation, right? I had a Cramorant that I could have attacked with, but I attacked with Charizard instead into an Entei. Well, when it only has 10 health left, the Arvinzard package is meant to be resilient, and they searched out a penny, picked it up, removed all the damage. Would they have done that if it only had 110 damage on it? I don't know. But if they didn't, I would have won that game for sure, and I think I would have won the round. Anyway, that's all in the past. I'm right now trying to decide between continuing with Lost Zone Charizard or moving into a Miraidon deck or giving Chin Pao a run for its money, because it's fun when it sets up, and I'm okay if I'm okay with playing an easier to play deck that when it sets up it does well, and it just happens to brick a little bit more than some other decks. I'm kind of to the point that that sounds like a relaxing way to play for a little bit, so I might do that some too. More than likely, I'll stick on the Lost Zone Charizard direction, and you'll see some videos from me about both. I've also, like I said, got a bunch of new ideas for the channel, and you're going to see a shift in what we cover in the coming weeks. And you're definitely going to see a lot more content from me coming forward, because this is going to be something I want to focus on instead of focusing exclusively and primarily on competitive play. I think I can set things up so that I can do that more effectively down the road, and everybody wins in the end. So with that, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake, signing off for today, and coming back real soon.